Hi, this is Karen O'Brien, and we are going to continue with the second part of the channel tutorial. So we just created this channel, and now we have, and then I kind of made a mistake while I was making the video. I made a mistake, so I'm going to show you. Not only do we want to we wanted to make a backup, right? And then what happens if you mess up like midstream? How do you recover from that? So I just made a mistake on my channel, so I'm going to close this out and go back to my training folder. So I broke this one and I made a mistake. However, at the end of at the end of step 6, I went ahead and made a backup. So I'm going to recover from that backup. So I'm going to right click and I will use 7-zip. You can just use regular Windows zip if you don't have 7-zip. And I'm going to just click extract here. And that is now the version that is complete. So I have a good backup. Go back here. This is the one that's messed up, so I'm going to completely delete it and then paste that. Come on. Okay, let me make sure I copy that. Control C to copy, Control V to paste, and then back into QGIS to reload this project. And you can either grab it from here or you can grab it from here. I typically do that just to be safe so I don't accidentally load the wrong project. We click OK and click yes. And and you see here that we are on cross section 1 and it's got its placeholder data just like we showed in the last video. Okay, so now we're ready to start the process to build the cross section or to fill out the cross section data. So I need to discuss this one more time. So I wanted to give a brief kind of like extra bit of information about urban channel geometry. And so most of the time you get your urban channel geometry from as-built files. If those are not available, then you can survey cross-section data. If you're in the West and your channels are dry, you can use LiDAR data and you can sample the cross-section data straight from the LiDAR map. And the tool that's using these tools right here. And of course, that's not the case in Florida. So in Florida, we have measuring the geometry from here. So I'm going to show you, I'm going to talk a little bit about that. So what I did in this channel is I didn't have the as-built data and I had partial LiDAR data. So I used that for the upper part of the channel to get the banks and everything. And then I guessed based on what I know about channels in South Florida. You know, they have probably a specific width to depth ratio. You can guarantee they're not going to be too deep because they're always full of water anyway. So that would be a waste. So they're going to have enough water to help drain systems, but not too deep because of the groundwater. So I'm assuming anywhere from 8 to 12 feet deep might be the depth of this channel. And I can just use that to help fill in the missing cross-section data using trapezoidal geometry. So that's what I did to build these cross sections. And you can see that I have built my cross sections into these files called station elevation files that are just station in feet on the left and elevation in feet on the right. And we'll be using that to fill in the data. Now, if you have a CSV file or you have Excel files or something like that, you can also grab those files like Excel data to build these tables because it works really well. But all you need is station and elevation data to build your cross sections. All right, so let's go ahead and get started on that. Let's start on the first one. So I'm going to do the first 3 or 4 of these so you can see the process, and then I'll end with the last 2 so you can see how I end it. But I'll pause the video in between so that you don't have to see this whole process because it is a little tedious. There's 24. So we start with the first cross section. If I select it, that loads the table for this cross section in the table editor. And then I can go back to cross section 1, open this up, and there's just some hotkeys for this. So Control C, or sorry, excuse me, Control A will select all the data. Keep the Control key down. It'll be Control A, C will copy it, and W will close that file. I already had it open, so let's try that again, just to show it to you again. So you're going to open the file, Control A, C, W. and then you go to your table and you paste it. And that way you close that file so you're not accidentally going to use that cross section twice. And Control A will copy all the data to make sure you get that very last line. You need that very last line of data. So Control A will get that. And then Control C will copy the data into your clipboard, and the paste button you have to use is here. This table doesn't accept Control V, unfortunately. All right, so let's do a couple more of those. So then I go to cross section 2. Now, if I use this center button and go to cross section 2, you'll see that it'll center that on the screen. Okay, now I have my cross section 2 open. Double click on that, Control A, C, W, go to my table, hit paste. Change this to cross section 3. You can see it moved down to the next one. Cross section 3, open it, Control A, C, W, put this into here and click paste. Go to the next one, section 4, and repeat the process. Now I will pause the video and I will come back over the last couple of cross sections so you can see the closeout process too. Okay, I've restarted the video to show you the last few. So select 23, 23, ACW, paste, and 24, 24, ACW, paste. And now the next step in this process would be to check and make sure that all your cross-section data is good. So we go back through this, and now this time, rather than clicking and dragging and dropping, or I'm sorry, clicking and selecting these from this list, I'm going to use the roller wheel to scroll through these. And all I'm looking is to make sure that these cross-sections change geometry as they go downstream. Make sure that they have this roller wheel's a little touchy, so I'm trying to be careful. It doesn't have very good haptics. I can't tell when I've rolled enough. Oops, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Okay, I totally lost count there. Don't ignore my counting. I just wanted to make sure that each one of those had data and none of them were like set to 0 to 0, 1, 0, like, or 0, -1, 0, like in the V lines. Okay, you don't want to see that V channel anywhere. And let's go ahead and go back to the thing. So we could load the cross section editor, load the corresponding table, Control A, C, W, to do the process, put your cursor right here and push paste, and then go down to the next line. And that is basically it for this process. But the next step in this is to schematize the channel, but I don't like to schematize the channel right now because sometimes this channel schematize process, you realize that you've done something wrong and something's not working in your schematize. So before I schematize, I don't need to save because nothing that I've done here changed anything in these layers, or everything that I did changed table data. So it was automatically updated as soon as I hit paste and moved to the next cross section. Everything was updated. So I don't need to use the save button, but it wouldn't hurt to do it. So it wouldn't hurt you to do that. And then I close it. And then let's see, let's get out of here real quick and go back to our, whoops, wrong one. And go back here and then a right click and then we save, or sorry, excuse me, zip. So again, you can use the regular Windows zip. I use 7-zip. And we'll go to add to coastal trainings zip. If you do use 7-zip, use this one. It's way better of a zipping and compression ratio. Let that zip. And then that completed, I believe that completed step 7 complete. Okay, so we'll call this channel step 7 complete. And now if we did something to mess up our channel, we'd be able to go back and get that. So let me put this in backups, and then we can just go back to QGIS and open that right back up. The reason I'm not double clicking the QGZ is because I have a newer version of QGIS installed and it's thinking it's the default, and I want to use this long-term version. So that's why I'm using this this window right here to open QGIS. And the reason that I always drag and drop is because I always want to make sure that I'm loading the right data when I load this. I kind of make that a practice just so that I don't accidentally load something I was working on somewhere else. All right, so now again, you check your cross sections, make sure they're all good. And everything looks good. I don't see any V's. Whoops, well, don't worry about that. That just gave us an error message because there was nothing to plot for that particular layer. And then let's see, let's get back here to the next instructions. Okay, so the next instructions are to schematize the channel. So now this has got a note, kind of an important note. If any of the following procedure needs to be repeated, always return to this step, schematize the channel before you do any like alignment or corrections or things like that. Okay, so we're going to schematize the channel. And then if the schematize process was successful, it's going to give us the following message, except our message is going to say 24 cross sections because I eliminated several cross sections to kind of speed this lesson up. And then if you get an error message, you ask the instructor for help if you're in a live class. Use the contact form on my website or email me, Karen@flow-2d.com if you need help and you're taking this on your own. All right, so let's see. Yeah, that's it. That's all that's in step 8. So we go here and we click the schematize button. And if no errors are seen, you see that we have now 24 cross sections, 840, 816 of the 840 were interpolated or will be interpolated once we use the interpolator. Now I want to show you kind of the difference between a schematized channel and a user layer channel. So if we turn off the user channels, you can see the schema channel. So you get a cross section for every grid element. Okay, cross section for every grid element. That's how Flow2D works. So the water can come down this channel, and then of course, if it overtops the bank of its channel, it can get out here and it can flow out into the street or into the neighborhood. If the street flow exceeds the bank of the channel, it can pour into from the neighborhood, it can pour into the channel. Let's see. Let's keep a move on though. Let's not get too stuck in discussing channels. Let's continue on with the class. Okay, the next thing would be to review the bank alignment. So urban channels, the bank alignment can be very important because you don't want your bank to be covering houses or covering things that your channel, you don't want to show that the channel bank is covering certain things. So you have a pretty tight window to make sure that that bank is in the right position. So what you can do is you can modify your left and right bank user channels and then use the schematize tool again to sort these out. So I'm going to just show you this and how to do this in a couple of steps. So minimize that. Let's just zoom in here and we'll turn off our elevation data and let's turn our channel layers back on, and then we'll grab these 3 layers and use the edit pencil on all 3 of them. And if you have like if your right bank is going to a place where you don't really like, you can take your right bank layer and then, well, actually you don't need to select the layer because the vertex tool works on all layers. And you can use the vertex tool to make some mild adjustments to the position of your bank. And then if you have like a weird, funky, like alignment, or you don't like the way that the channels cross sections are oriented, sometimes you can kind of force them into different alignments by mild adjustments to like the position of the cross section. And then if you don't like the way that these two come together or the way that the left bank is organized, like how it transitions from one grid element to another, you can make mild adjustments to this line to kind of sort that out. And every time that you make a mild adjustment to something, let's just say that we want these guys up here, Every time you make a mild adjustment to something, you can just hit the schematize button again, and it will fix the things that you modified. Okay, so it just kind of gives you an opportunity to change the alignment of the channel, make sure that the cross sections are properly oriented, and make sure that your alignment isn't in a location that doesn't make any sense. And you can see that, you kind of get like issues down here where you see where we go on this 90-degree bend right here. Like if we didn't want that, we could just do that right there, move that one slightly, and then hit that one more time. And you can see it just smooths it right out. If you don't like the fact that that one's so close, you can maybe put a little line right here, hit schematize again, and you see it just changes the position of the bank. If you don't like the way that these cross sections right here, if you don't like the way that they're all pointing like in this angle, you can make a mild adjustment of the cross section, hit the schematize button, and it will mildly change the angle or orientation of the cross sections. So that's kind of the deal with the realign lesson. So we hit it, and then the last thing I do before when I finish a realign is I just hit that one final time, and then I close it, and now I have schema data that's ready to interpolate. Come over here, and I hit the untoggle the edit button, and it's going to ask me, do I want to save these layers? I'm going to click yes for the left bank lines, yes for the right bank lines, and yes for the cross sections. And now, again, I don't mess around with, I really don't mess around with channels. I make a backup after everything that I do, just in case. So again, with the backup, because channels are really easy to corrupt. It's really easy to corrupt your data your data and your geo package, and it's really easy to make a backup, right? Really easy to make a backup. So I'm going to call that step 9 complete. Not really easy to undo a mistake that you've made, but really easy to make a backup. And we'll save that. And then let's see, the next step is to interpolate the channel. So I'm just going to stop the video right here, and we'll move on to the next step in the last video.